previously. The cold transformed the land of the wolf into a white and luminous world. In addition to wolves and moose, the Canada lynx was present. To the magic of hoarfrost is now added that of the larches adorned with the last warm colors of the season. And in the pure air of this fantastic autumn, the song of the wolves calls us to the profound meaning of our quest. Monique and I are coming back empty-handed from a hike, without realizing that those we were looking for are right in front of us. Our quick steps have stressed the moose. We are not their only source of concern. A nuke arrives from the opposite direction. The moose find themselves between two humans and a wolf. The young wolf takes a detour, but this does not reassure the moose. Finally, they run away towards the wolf. Monique and I were walking along without paying attention when we surprised these moose. Plus, it was windy. Even if the conditions had been favorable for them, I think that between a young wolf and two bipeds, the moose would have preferred to run towards the canid. In fact, a study conducted by scientists has shown that the human voice usually inspires more fear in prey species than the roars, howls, or other cries associated with their natural predators. Why? Perhaps because modern men have become damagers, one of the few, if not the only species to commit plunderings of natural resources, including wildlife, in an abusive and harmful manner. That said, if several members of the Manitous Pack had been present that day, I am not sure the moose would have made the same choice. In this second half of October, golden larches adorn the land of the wolf. The stage is set for what might be the most interesting observation of the week. I am really looking forward to seeing how will react this cow moose when the Manitous get closer. The moose spotted them. She instinctively knows what to do. When the wolves notice her presence, She has already taken refuge in the marsh. Then begins a sort of test during which the predators will try to force the moose to leave the safety of the pond. For the moose, the challenge is to stay put, not to give in to panic even if all the exits seem to be closing around her. Wolves surround the marsh. There is the brave little Anouk, Grisette, Tamara, and Robin, always easy to recognize because of his nervous tick. The marsh encirclement exercise has been going on for 15 minutes. Robin could swim out to the moose to force her to escape. But he probably considers this option too risky. This type of activity allows young wolves to develop their teamwork skills. Tamara's personality, intelligence, and character remind me a lot of Kitchi or Babaloo. The birds cannot distract her from her mission. She continues her rounds around the marsh, thus collaborating in the collective effort of her siblings to scare the moose. "30 minutes later, the wolves withdraw. After a few weeks of observation, we had a fairly accurate picture of the least fearful pups in the new litter. As I mentioned before, each wolf is a unique being with a personality that sets it apart from others. This is why they are so endearing and fascinating to be around. Grisette, for example, wise, gentle, self-effacing. With her sad air, she was Reynolds' favorite. I had a crush on the beautiful Tamara, who exercised healthy leadership in the litter. I admit that a layperson would have had difficulty differentiating them from one another. In this scene, we see older sister Mindy on the right, with Tamara on the left, and Wawa is in the center. Anouk stood out from the other young wolves we have had the pleasure of knowing, a real phenomenon, a rebel within the pack. Her way of walking with her head tilted, her audacity, and her shifty gaze gave her a disturbing appearance. With their yellow or orange eyes, most black wolves have a rather intimidating expression, but in Anouk's case, it was even more striking. I painted this oil on canvas specifically to highlight this aspect of Anouk by showing her with Robin, her big brother, who always has such a frank look. Robin and Anouk. I have watched those two together so much. A little classical music in the studio, and presto, my mind flies to join them in the land of the wolf. When I paint the portrait of wolves I have known and loved, like Robin and Anouk, I tell myself that my art will perhaps allow them to make their voices heard beyond the land of the wolf, where important decisions are made for their future and that of all living beings. I can speak for them and advocate for them, but nothing can replace the true voice of wolves. The thrill that comes over us when we hear them sing and communicate with each other from one end of their territory to the other. The crossroads, in the Valley of the Moose, was one of the best places to witness the vocal performances of the Manitous. One morning, Robin and Anouk gave me a memorable concert. That fall, hearing the Manitous sing was one of the highlights that accentuated our feeling of having reached the height of beauty and grace. We had the privilege of seeing and hearing them howl so many times that we were able to recognize the voices of some of them. This is quite exceptional with free wolves in the natural environment. It was safe to say, this howl is the voice of Hiawatha, and this one is the voice of Robin. Imagine the time we spent with these wolves to be able to identify them by their voice. Robin meets all kinds of animals while patrolling the valley alone. The howls of his younger brothers and sisters break the silence. Singing like that is almost art. Robin's calls will soon bring the siblings together. According to our observations, the howl of the wolf is often synonymous with reunion and joy. Robin had one of the most beautiful wolf voices we have ever heard. Its sweetness, its depth. Every time I listen to it again while making the web series, it moves me more than I can express. It takes me back to the most wonderful autumn of my life, surrounded by the wolves. Hiawatha's voice was also of great beauty, harsher and deeper than that of his son Robin, often with a kind of tremolo close to a growl. I remember with nostalgia a really special moment when the Manitous were all gathered at the crossroads. That evening, I experienced ecstasy. Hiawatha warns me to stay away. His message is clear, but not threatening. Robin, Mindy, and the others stay behind him. I have immense respect for this wise father, who opened the door to his intimacy to me, while making me understand the limits not to cross. Anouk comes to greet her father. White Paws passed very close to me. The mother wolf expresses her affection and good humor to her mate, Hiawatha. Darkness falls quickly at the end of October. We were not able to film the rest of the interactions between White Paws, Hiawatha, and their family. But we did record the concert, which resumed later under the stars. We will never forget that wonderful evening. We felt blessed and so happy, but we cherished one last dream, to witness the beginning of winter in the land of the wolf. In the next episode, November and its snow will fulfill our expectations. Wolves, Canada lynxes, red foxes, and beavers, we will witness the adaptation of these species and many others to seasonal changes. A story to follow in the land of the wolf.
마행근 기구나 스카트 맥괴 bemase ganishna habe hayawe o mahingen wichi